Kiryu goes and just like beats the shit out of children in RC races.
Needed more context quicker for that one, Chase.
Yeah, didn't in the spoken word. You can't say that there wasn't a period at the end of that sentence.
Yeah.
Welcome to Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Chase.
And my name is David. And I think Chase started the pod that quickly because he was afraid of what we were talking just about before we started this cast.
Yeah.
He didn't want it to bleed over. He wanted a fresh start.
I want pure gaming. I want to take all the things that have happened in my day and just sort of set them aside and transcend to this like third place that you and I go to where we talk about video games.
The third place. Where are the first and the second places?
Home and work.
Home, work, gaming.
And like just the mental space of a video game podcast.
It's like a little, what do they call that? A mind palace?
Yeah, it's our mind palace that we build together. Wow, that's nice. I was kind of trying to go for a joke, but that sounded much more quaint and nice than I thought it was going to.
It's like a Minecraft server that just you and I share imaginationally, if that's a word.
Oh yeah, sure. I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where we go and like talk about games and like figure out the fun in them, you know? Mm-hmm. I feel like you were on like a gaming buffet last week. You had a lot of games. And like
I was going ham, as they say.
You were going ham, and I gotta say, I edit the podcast. Great takes. Love the takes.
Thank you.
So I'm interested to see where you are now. Where have you settled?
I have settled pretty much into Spiderman 2.
Okay.
The narrative started to grip me.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always, with any of these narrative-driven games, especially ones that, like I said last time, is essentially a very similar game to when it first came out 7 or so years ago at this point.
Yeah.
It really relies on a strong narrative and performances by the actors. And I do think that they have really done well in this one. I love the relationship between Peter and Miles. It's so nice. Yeah. And Miles is such a great character. I feel like he's really coming into his own in this game in particular. Like, especially in his standalone game, Miles Morales, but it was just a shorter stint. And now just seeing how he's finding his place in this wider world of super heroism and his community as well is really a joy to see. I like some of the small tweaks they've made to the gameplay that make it just a tad bit more engaging. They have specific attacks now that you have to either parry. They have a parry in the game now. They didn't have that before. Some that you have to dodge and some that you can just either parry or dodge. So it does add a little bit more of a skill check to certain bosses and parts of the game, which does make it for me more engaging from a combat and action standpoint. Especially the lizard battle. I thought that was quite fun.
Yes, yeah, very good.
Really good. And really great set pieces, honestly. I feel like they've really upped the ante on the set piece portions of this game where you're just flying around the city doing all sorts of crazy things as Spider-Man, acrobatics galore, explosions everywhere, and just like the camera angles and how they frame those shots feels very cinematic and feels like a different level of care for cinematography than past Spider-Man games have had. They've dabbled a little bit, but this one's really had like 2 or 3 pretty great sequences so far, and almost reminds me more of like an Uncharted type experience as opposed to your traditional Insomniac experience, which had great moments, don't get me wrong, but not quite those cinematic movie feeling moments, which I think this game is just nailing really well. And I think that the story, for at least for me personally, whenever bad things happen to Peter Parker, I'm always so sad.
Me too.
It's just sorry. I mean, you kind of know if you know about the comic books about he has the Venom suit. You've seen it in the trailers, so I don't think that's that much of a spoiler to say that things get bad before they probably get good again.
Yeah, it's also just like the nature of telling a story. Is that something will go back?
Exactly, right? The hero has to go into a dark place for a bit.
Yeah.
So and just seeing like the love that his like unit, his family unit, and his support system has for him and trying to help him out of this is really great. But then just seeing him just de-gaffing so hard is rough. I feel like so far this is my favorite take on a Peter Parker Venom, just like that I have experienced in the medium of anything, really.
Yeah.
good way to wash the taste of old Tobey Maguire's out of my mouth, because man, was that a thing.
I enjoy Toby's approach, but it is bizarre. It's very strange.
It was so coded in the time frame.
Yes,
that it was
exactly.
set.
Which is partially why I like it.
Yeah, and I get that, but I don't think it's great storytelling. Whereas I think this does a better job of being storytelling, even though I think that the voice actor the actor for Peter Parker in this one, some of his lines where he's being venomified are a little rough around the edges, but I mean, he's also like he's like one of the most pure, optimistic people turning bad for a bit. So I guess that is to be expected, that it's going to sound off and weird at first.
I also like seems like it's kind of speaking to a similar point that you were bringing up, that like their version of what him being corrupted or like taken over in some way isn't the sort of like cartoonish violence that I feel like you sometimes see in other Spider-Man media, where he gets turned into Venom, where it's like he is suddenly a straight up bad guy that is like, he just doesn't care about the people in his way. But like, I feel like their approach in this one is a lot more of it's subtle and kind of like malicious in a way, but he's still the same guy. He's just like, he like his means start to justify the ends more than I think they do when he's normal.
It's what makes it work is that it's playing off of his good-naturedness and his need to help others by him being like, this suit makes me Spider-Man at his best, so why wouldn't I use this, and why can I not try to find a way for me to keep this suit? You know, as a third-party observer, you're like, no, this thing is just messing with your mind so that you don't try to get rid of it and kill it, because it knows that what it's doing to you is bad.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that interplay between Peter and the suit, the symbiote Venom, is really good. And you know how scared Dr. Connors is when he sees it.
Yeah, it's great.
He's just like, oh God, this is not good. This is not good at all. So yeah, I'm having a really great time with this game. Really, really excellent. It's definitely gripped me the most, just because of its story and my love for Spider-Man, of all Spider-Mans, I should say. Yeah. So great. Love it. I also love all the suits. The suits always get me. I just had to mention that. I know it's like a duh thing for a Spider-Man game, but it is so hard for me to just not spend all of the resources I get from everything just on the newest, flashiest suit and just mob around with that. That's so good. It's so good.
It's sort of like, I don't know if embarrassing is the right word, because I don't have a lot of shame about it, but I really do like to just dress up the characters in cool outfits. If they make that system fun, that's all I want to do, is put Spider-Man in a cool suit.
Yeah. And I do like that they kind of did away with the special power for each suit in this one, whereas it's just like a cosmetic thing, and you don't have to worry about optimizing your Spider-Man by changing the suit. It's just flair. It's just flavor, which I think is the right way of doing it in the long run. But great game. And and this is the one other thing. I'm sorry. I said I was going to move on, but
it's your podcast, man.
This is the best New York has ever felt in any Spider-Man game, for sure. Because you can see so much further. You can go pretty much anywhere you can see. Just having the ability to go across the river on a consistent basis makes it feel like so much more of a metropolis that you're in than just kind of like a little small playground that you're in as compared to like other Spider-Man games. Hats off to you, Insomniac. Man, it looks gorgeous. And it feels good. Game. Feels so good. Yeah. I've still been playing Resident Evil 2.
Yeah. Where are you in that one?
I just had my first encounter with Mr. X.
Okay.
It was scary.
Very spooky.
It was spooky. Yes. I was not expecting it. I was just expecting to get past that helicopter finally, and then he just lifts it up with one hand, no problem.
Frightening.
He looks at me and I go, okay, this is time to run. This is the time to run. And just the build up to Mr. X was so good, where you're talking to that reporter who's in jail, and then
he's
freaking out about something. He hears something and then backs up against the wall, and then Mr. X's hand comes through, grabs him by the head, and just smushes his face. Oh,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So scary.
Very frightening.
Because I feel like the zombies in the game aren't necessarily scary. They're more anxiety inducing, because they just take so much of my ammo to put down.
Yes, yeah.
Especially just handgun bullets. But then you start to get used to that, and then you lose a little bit of that that fear. The lickers are always spooky though.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because I also don't know when they're going to actually hear me, because I usually just bust into any room. I'm just running at full speed.
Yes.
And the licker just gets me immediately. Unless I close the door, and then they respect doorways, which I also appreciate. I can kind of just go out on the other side, take a breath. Okay, use my weed, get back to full health, and go back and get them. Like it's definitely like when you grind it up and have it in like a little rolling paper.
I know, it's so bizarre that they like made that artistic choice.
Yeah,
it's really hard to interpret it as anything other than weed. Like the weed, like in its regular form, looks kind of like a weed plant. In the crushed up form, it looks like a weed plant.
Absolutely, it does. Yeah,
it's very, very weird. That like I remember playing this with my dad and brother when I think Resident Evil 2 came out, and both of them kept making jokes about the herbs in this game. And like,
just a lot of guys named Herb.
Yeah. And I kept wondering, like, why is this plant so fucking funny? Eventually I was like, okay, so maybe they're pronouncing the H in herb. And that's the funny thing, but it kept like, it only dawned on me in my like 20s. And I was like, oh, it's a weed joke.
It's one of those things you wake up in a cold sweat. They were talking about weed.
That weed, yeah.
But yeah, I do. Once again, I think that the doorway, the power of doors to stop zombies is such a nice way to take the tension off and let the player have a little bit more agency over when and how they interact with the scary bits of the game.
Yeah.
At least the bits that are more just laying around the world haphazardly. Definitely the scripted events are different than that, but I do appreciate that it gives you some time to just take a breath, get ready, get your bearings again, and go back in and kind of deal with your fears. It's great.
Yeah, it's very good. I also love that they're somehow able to communicate, and I don't remember, maybe it was something in the dialogue, but they communicate very clearly. Don't try to fight Mr. X. Like, you're not going to be able to kill him.
Yeah, I think that they were talking about it. They're like, okay, this guy, don't even waste bullets on him. Just run and run around him. Just give him the old 1-2 and get out of there. And it worked great. I was scared the whole time, but it worked.
I think we were talking about this a little bit last week, and I didn't really want to like spoil how he comes after you, but I feel like he really does add another layer of tension to your progression in the game.
Yeah.
Because you have kind of figured out at that point how to get around the Raccoon City Police Department, and like the zombies aren't quite as intimidating, and like maybe you've killed most of the lickers and there's not many left.
Yeah.
And then like now it's like, okay, well, there's this key that I have that I need to go unlock this door with.
Yeah.
But also I can hear Mr. X above me somewhere.
He's just stomping around.
Yeah, he's clunking around somewhere, and that's going to become a really big problem for me in getting to the place that I need to go. And so you kind of have to figure out like, how can I lose him, or like where can I go that he won't follow me or whatever.
Where can I lure him and then circle back around to get back to where I need to go? So it starts to become like a little cat and mouse game, which is fun.
Yeah, there's a couple of places too where like you go through a place that is not a door, like you jump through like a window or something like that, and typically he can't get through a lot of those places. Yeah, which is just really phenomenal. I feel like it recontextualizes the space that you're in to be scary again, which is just like, God, it's great. Very good stuff.
Yeah, and I'm also very impressed on their ability to make so many enemies that don't move very fast so intimidating, right?
Oh my God.
You know, it's not like Usain Bolt chasing you. It's like the world's greatest marathoner chasing you, and you're just you just have to keep going, because you know that if you stop for like a minute, they're going to be right behind you.
They will find
and ready for you, because they have been conserving their energy. I think there's something very primal about that, because humans, I think I read somewhere that we're the greatest endurance animals on the planet, and it's just like a very primal thing of I'm just not going to quit. I will wear you down and find you somewhere and end you.
Yeah.
It's a very lizard brain sort of tactic that I think all people kind of understand as our way of engaging with those sorts of threats or things that we are trying to hunt.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a very nice way of getting that into the game. Just being the constant prey at all times.
Yeah, just being followed is like a very frightening experience.
Absolutely.
In a lot of contexts, but in the one where it's a big man in a trench coat who can like punch your head off
with a hat.
Like, yeah, very bad.
So good. The character design of Mr. X is excellent as well. It's
so like frightening, because I think in so many other contexts he would look so dumb.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's wearing a hat is somehow so scary. Like
if he was just a bald guy in a trench coat, wouldn't be as scary. But the hat really adds like a debonairness to him.
Yeah. And like they kind of flip that in the third one because Nemesis is following you for most of that one. And he is like body horror creature. Like there's just terrifying things going on with his physical form. But like X is still scary for just being like a noir dipshit wandering around. You know, he's just going to punch you.
Exactly. It's like an interesting take on the noir detective who is instead of hunting like the Maltese Falcon, he's hunting you, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he's coming for you.
It like shouldn't be scary, but it very much is.
No, it definitely is. Because he just walks so powerfully.
Yeah, the brum, 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 the huge stomps that he's doing.
It just doesn't stop. Does not stop. So still very much enjoying that game. It's really good. I'm having a lot of fun with Resident Evil 2. So I'm excited to see where it takes me from there. And then the last game I've been playing, I decided to go a different route, Chase.
Ooh.
I decided to go with a little bit of nostalgia for this one.
Yeah, sure.
I've been playing The Legend of Dragoon.
Whoa, wow. We talked about this a little bit, right? Or had you started replaying this one, or was that just me?
I had not. I had just seen that it was available, and I had downloaded it, but just never had gotten around to actually firing it up.
Yeah.
Man, did I not get far at all in this game as a child. I didn't get anywhere.
No, me neither.
And I really did not grok any of the finer points of the game mechanics either. But as an adult, it's really fun to go back and see these things and remember so much of how it looked at these characters and remembering how I was playing it and realizing, man, I was playing this wrong.
Totally
wrong. So just it's a fun game. I'm really enjoying it actually. It's a fun little adventure, and I do enjoy the combat. It does add just that little bit of extra spice to a turn-based RPG of this era, PS1 era, that just keeps me much more engaged. Because then you can add different combos that are more button presses to. So essentially in this game, there's like little QTE, quick time events during your combos that you choose for combat. Like in a typical turn-based RPG, you just hit attack and it would do one attack and it would do the damage that is expected of your character for your level. Whereas in this one, you can attack and then it'll do one attack and then you'll do a series of button presses that will then allow you to do more damage to the character you're fighting. So it gives you a little bit of a skill incentive as well, which is great.
It's like the sort of advanced version of what Paper Mario does.
Exactly.
Where like if you hit A at the right time, it'll do a little bit more damage.
Paper Mario or Eichenfeld as well, Chase.
Yes, yeah. God, I love Eichenfeld. God, that was a good.
That's a fun game. So this game is of that ilk. So enjoyable. A fun way of doing combat in these types of games. I'm really looking forward to when I can become a Dragoon, because I remember that part being cool AF when I was a child. But I haven't gotten too far. I'm at the jail now.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I don't know how far I doubt I will finish this whole game.
It's pretty long.
It was a 4-disc game, if I remember correctly, on the PS1, which is probably like a 40 or 50 hour experience, I would say. So probably won't finish the whole thing, but I'm gonna dive into it pretty good and run it through its paces, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great blast from the past, and it surprised me in how much it hooked me as well. I didn't think it was going to be quite as engaging as it ended up being. So yeah, very nice surprise. It's
a cool game. I liked playing through it too. I had the same experience you were talking about where you got nowhere as a kid.
Got absolutely nowhere.
I had the same experience with Chrono Trigger when I picked it up again in my 20s, and I was like, oh yeah, this game that I tried to play when I was younger. I don't even know if I got through the circus part of that game, because I played it when I was super young. I don't think I knew how to read very well at the time.
Yeah.
And so that first area is just about you going and checking out the not the circus, but the fair that's happening, and you have to talk to kind of a few people to get things to progress. And so when I did as an adult, I was like, oh my god, there's a lot of game here, and all I really remembered was the first half an hour essentially. Good game, that Chrono Trigger.
That Chrono Trigger, man. Are they doing a remake of that?
I mean, they've put out a couple.
Oh, really?
Of not full-blown remakes, but re-releases. They're probably gonna do something again, but who knows? I feel like it's exceptionally playable and still pretty good in the form that it's in. And I wonder what it's on, because I feel like for a while it was pretty available. Yeah, I mean, it's on Steam. There's a Super Nintendo version, PlayStation version. I think that there was a mobile version, but if I remember correctly, it's not great. There was some problems with it of maybe the music wasn't good, or the touch was just not great. But yeah, It's like around, so it's a very playable game, which is kind of a relief for how outsized the influence of that game is, that it's still like available. Because yeah, some things aren't. I'm looking at you, Metal Gear Solid 4 specifically. It's like so hard to get a hold of unless you have an actual PlayStation 3.
Good thing I got one of them.
Yeah, good thing we got those.
Got the OG. Spent 600 bones on that bad boy back in 2007?
God. 7, yeah.
God, how much is that adjusted for inflation nowadays?
It's a lot. I feel like at the time I was like, oh my God, how is it possibly this expensive?
It's this or a house.
It's what it felt like at the time.
$918.
Yeah, that feels about right. Like
that does feel right. That does feel right, yeah.
Yeah, like if Nintendo came out next year and they're like, hey, the Switch 2 is here. It's $9.99. That would feel pretty similar to what it felt like to buy a PlayStation 3 in 2006.
$1,000, everybody.
Like, listen, I would still unfortunately fork over some very sad dollars for it.
If you know Super Mario Odyssey 2 is going to be on there.
Yeah, that would be untenable though. I think that might spell like the death of Nintendo if they had started charging $1,000. I mean, it almost killed PlayStation in the PS3 era.
It sure did.
Nobody bought that thing and there were not very many games for it.
$918.36. Man, that is some money.
Plus, like, that's just the console. Like, do you want to buy a video game?
Got to get another boomerang.
Yeah, got to get another boomerang. I wish that's what they shipped the controllers with. For anybody who doesn't know what they're talking about or what we're talking about, there was like their initial render and like mock-up of what the controller was literally looked like a big boomerang.
Yeah.
Like N64 controller levels of unusable. Probably worse, to be honest.
Because it didn't have the third middle prong. It just had 2 prongs.
No, it was just so long. I don't know how I would have gotten my hands around it.
It was like the size of the original Xbox controller with the form factor of the Nintendo 64 controller.
Yes, yeah. Just bad. Then they essentially were just like, all right, fuck it. It's just a DualShock again.
It was huge. Well, didn't they do that because they were having some weird legal battle with some company that was saying that Sony stole their idea for the DualShock controller?
Oh, really?
I think that was part of it, because they didn't do a DualShock first. They did the 6-axis, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't a DualShock. It was a 6-axis controller. 6-axis 1. El Uno.
Bizarre.
Gotta play Layer with my 6-axis.
We should play Layer at some point for the show. That would be a very weird play.
Where can I play Layer? That's my
question. Know. I think on your PS3, it would have to be on the original hardware.
Find a copy of Layer somewhere on the internet. How much would they go for? $80?
I mean, here's the thing, David. There are other ways to play games on the PlayStation 3.
Oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm scared.
I can show you. It was very easy.
Oh, that's pretty much all I've been playing this week, Chase. What have you been playing?
I've been playing a couple of games, just like in the background, still playing Persona 3. I haven't brought it to the show yet. And like, it just hasn't really slotted into the show well yet.
Sure.
Because I have 2 other games that I'm like dying to talk about.
Sure.
And like, what am I going to say about Persona 3? You know, I'm having a good time. It's fun.
It is Persona. It is still good.
It's still fun. There's problems with it like every other Persona game, but I'm having a good time. I'm like, I think a little under halfway through it.
Okay.
It doesn't strike me as a game that is quite as long as Persona 5 Royal.
Sure.
But hey, I've been wrong before.
Can you just tell me who is your best friend and why?
That's tough. Initially, I thought it was Junpei Iori because he was like very Ryuji coded.
Sure.
But he's like kind of shitty in ways that like anime best friends can be shitty. I'm sure he will have a story eventually, but I'm kind of drifting away from him right now.
Whoa, the friend drift in a game.
Yeah, man. The friend drift. I'm just like, I don't know if I necessarily want to hang out with Junpei right now. I mean, I like Yukari Takeba. I think she's got a lot going on under the surface. She feels to me kind of
going on.
She feels kind of like almost a secondary protagonist where like it seems like there's a lot of things happening. She's kind of there from the start. And so I'm interested to see like where her story goes. There seems like there's a lot of stuff with her, which I'm fascinated by. But even still, like the first part of the game, I feel like you aren't able to really spend a ton of time with the like kind of main cast in the way that you do with the other just like members of the world in this game. You do like the S-Link things, which is essentially just like scenes where you get to go hang out with people.
Slinkin',
yeah.
Nice.
you with the main cast, you have to have like kind of exceptionally high stats to even start like hanging out with them.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so I think it's kind of a gate to keep you from.
I was about to say gatekeeping the hang.
A little bit, yeah. And so like the people who are available for you to hang out with early on in the game are just like, people at school or people around town or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So, those are the people I'm spending a lot of my time. I'll tell you who I don't like is fucking Kenji Tomochika, the like one of the first guys you hang out with. And he's like, dude, I'm going to ask my teacher out and this is going to be so fucking cool.
Whoa.
And just so bad.
Kenji.
Bad. Yeah, not great.
Not okay, man.
Love to spend time with Yuko Nishiwaka. She's great. She's the captain of the running team. She's great. Her voice actress is also like exceptional. I'm not sure why, but just like the way that she delivers her lines, I'm like, this feels very real. Like the delivery feels like almost, I don't know, uncanny in a weird. It's great. She's doing a great job.
Great.
And then like, I'm hanging out with Chihiro Fushimi. She's great too. Mm-hmm. She's also got a lot going on.
Cool.
A lot of, calm waters on the surface, but like all sorts of shit going on below.
Sure.
So
nice.
It's a great game. I'm having a good time. I said I wasn't going to talk about Persona 3. Here's me just walking through the cast.
I just want to know who your best friend did, and you're just you went in.
I mean, there's a lot to say. It's a game about characters, and so
absolutely,
you say which ones are cool. I got a list. Anyway, I'll talk about this more at some point. The two games that I want to talk about, the first of which is this game called Pacific Drive. David.
Ooh. That's the one like Pacific Northwest.
Yes, it is.
And you're in a station wagon, right?
You are in a station wagon.
Cool.
Yeah, it's that game. I didn't really know what this game was.
I had not heard of it until like last week.
I think it was like shown a little bit at like the Not E3 of last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I like saw a couple of trailers for it, and like most of my impression of it was like something akin to like a not horror game, but it seemed a lot more like you are running a lot of the time.
Like supernatural, a little spooky kind of deal.
Yeah. I got that vibe, but just like what I think I was unclear about what is this game, and I didn't do a lot of research. I was just like, I think I'm in on the vibe, and like I hear pretty good things about it, so I think I'm just gonna go ahead and get it. Mm-hmm. So Pacific Drive is this game that is made by Ironwood Studios, based out of Seattle, hometown heroes.
There you go.
And it is this game. It takes place in 1998, and I think you're like a courier that shows up out of this place called the Olympic Exclusion Zone, which is this like area in, I think it's supposed to be the like Olympic National Park, the western part of like kind of north-ish or Washington.
Sure.
Where like currently that's just a big ass national park, but in the game has been turned into this area that is like totally cut off from the rest of the world. There's like a huge wall that's been built around it as a way to essentially isolate the shitty things that happened in there. Mm-hmm. There were all these like experiments that were going on in that zone. I think it was like in the 50s, essentially.
Whoa.
Some kind of wild sci-fi shit happened. And essentially their solution was like, we don't have this under control. Our only solution is to build a big ass wall around it and try and like not let anything escape.
Dang.
And so
Pacific Rim style.
Yes, yeah, kind of, right? Where like they don't have a good control over what happened or why. It's just sort of like, let's keep the problem in here.
Yeah.
And so initially as the courier, you get like pulled into this area by some kind of supernatural force. Mm-hmm. And initially what happens is that there are these people that come over the radio who like, they seem to maybe have been people who've lived here for a long time and like used to work at the company that like made the problems here. And they start directing you essentially of like, okay, well, if you are like out there, here's what you'll need to do to survive, essentially. The first, I don't know, half an hour is just like, here is the world, here's how to collect things, and here's this very beat up old car that you have now.
Yeah.
And they call it a remnant, which is like,
oh, cool.
Essentially like a supernatural object that gets tied to a person. And eventually like anybody else in the past who has come in contact with a remnant or has one attached to their person, it eventually drives them mad. Like they become obsessed with it.
Whoa.
And like they can't escape it anymore.
Some real control vibes in this, it feels like.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of, it feels very control-y. Weirdly enough, it reminded me a lot of Half-Life or Portal even, where there's like kind of a whimsy to the terrifying like mistakes that science has made in this world.
Yeah.
Like there's these creatures, I think they call them bunnies in this world, where they describe them as like not that big of a deal, but they're like spiked electric little creatures that whenever you do something in the world, sometimes they'll just show up and like attach to your car and make your car go haywire. They're like objectively scary. They're like these little things with like huge spikes on them.
No.
But like the name of them that they've given are bunnies, right? So there is this contrast between how people talk about things and the actual like reality of it.
Sure.
And the three characters who you mostly are in contact with, they're very not happy-go-lucky, but like you are dealing with dire things in this game, but they're all pretty on the level about like, oh yeah, if you just do this, you won't explode, I think, like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I think that the game strikes a really fun balance of tone in the way that it is presenting you with like a very kind of scary shit that is happening with also comforting and reliable set of characters and like this sort of base that you have of the car. And then eventually you find an actual home base of a garage that one of the characters used to own. Mm-hmm. So all of that's really good. Kind of reminds me of Annihilation too.
Oh, sure.
The book.
Yeah.
Where there's like a big fucked up zone.
Yeah.
And like bad
the
things seem
zone.
to happen in there. Yeah, fucky zone. Some fuck shit happens in there. So the actual like game loop, how this game works is that you find your sort of garage, and that serves as just like a single place that you can go to. And a lot of the stuff you do in there is kind of familiar to a lot of other survival games where it's like, you can upgrade your car or replace its parts or repair it or research new things that you can do with your car, right?
Can you get monster truck wheels?
You can't get that big of wheels, but you can get like off-road tires and shit,
cool.
Which is cool. And like, I think the game smartly makes your car very bad in the beginning.
Sure.
Because like any upgrade feels like, oh my God, this is so significant.
It's in the realm of reality are your upgrades. Gotcha.
Sort of sometimes. it's like
sci-fi
bigger
reality.
Yes, yeah. Like you can get better tires. Also, you can get like a jump pack of a thing that like boosts your car in the air.
Ooh,
or
that's cool.
Nitrous or a like shield that will prevent like monsters from grabbing onto you or something.
Nice.
So you go there, you usually will plot out a route on this like map that's in the garage, and you can say like, okay, I want to go to this specific spot in the zone. The way that they've like fictionalized this though is that the continuity of these places can get really fucked up, and it will just sort of like blip places in and out of existence or like move them around.
Oh no.
And so the way mechanically that this works is that you will choose a place to go to, and a lot of the times, not always, but a lot of the times it is like procedurally generated, but it's not like you are driving directly from one spot to another and there's like no cut. It's like you will leave your garage, it'll fade to black, and then you'll show up in like an open zone essentially of like, here's this area, and if you want to go through here to go to another area, you can like find an exit, right? But if this was your final like spot that you're trying to get to, it does this amazing thing where if you pick up enough of what they call anchors, it's like these orbs that have like some kind of power in them.
Cool. And
put them in your car has like this thing to absorb their energy. If you get enough of those, then you can open up like a gateway back to your garage. And they're just on like predetermined spots in the map.
Cool.
And the moment you open one of those gateways, it does like a Fortnite storm thing where there's a storm that starts closing on that spot that you have opened up, and you have to get there before like the zone closes, or else you start like dying.
Sure.
And so it's like this very fun back and forth of, I need to go out here, I'm going to explore, pick up the like resources from these like abandoned buildings, maybe like take apart some of the like abandoned cars that I find for parts, and then collect enough of these anchors that I can use to like upgrade shit at my home base. But then if I spend too much time here, even if you don't open the gate, sometimes there will just be a storm and it's like, oh, I have to leave now, which it really creates a really cool sense of tension of wandering around this like beautiful landscape, right? Again, this is like they've modeled it after my backyard essentially. So I'm very, it feels near and dear, but it's like you're driving this like 70s, 80s station wagon through like the Pacific Northwest, and it's amazing and gorgeous. And like the graphical style is like, does a lot to, you can really feel the beauty of the place in just the way they've chosen to display it. And then also the gravity's weird in this one spot, or there's a big buzzsaw that just goes through the ground up ahead, or there's like suddenly a lot of like old ash that has formed into the visage of like a human woman that will explode if you drive onto it or something.
What?
Just scary stuff, bad stuff.
Spooky things.
Which is cool. Like when seeing the previews, I thought that this game was going to be a lot more about like fighting bad guys.
Sure.
There's no combat. Like you don't really like get into it with any other creatures. It's mostly just trying to avoid the bad stuff that's already happening there.
No bad guys, just bad stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And so like, I'm not always a fan of survival games. I realized I've just brought up Enshrouded, which is also a survival game that I like this year. But I think that this one is much more in the mold of something like Subnautica that I really like. I really like this game, and I really like Subnautica in the ways that like they take a look at like what is necessary in this genre and what can we do that's maybe a twist on that stuff. I think Subnautica like was not based around the vehicles that it had, but you also developed a relationship with like the kind of like speeder boat that you could use, or eventually the Colossus or whatever it was, the gigantic submarine that you could wander around with in the first one. This one very much puts the car front and center of like, this is your comfortable zone.
Yeah.
It's your safe haven.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I think that it's very neat to center that immediately rather than like eventually you can unlock a car. It's like, no, it's here immediately from the jump. Again, kind of tying back to the whole Remnant thing.
Yeah.
It's great. I think that that's really, really cool. Yeah. So kind of getting back to the loop of the game, once you get back to the garage, you can, spend all your resources on different upgrades to your car or your garage or your person, which will allow you to more easily get out into the world, right? There's this story that is playing out around you a lot of the time. And usually your goal is to just get to a part of the Olympic exclusion zone that is hard to reach, right? And so each little run, you don't have to be doing story stuff, but you can go out and just like collect resources to build something or research something. But typically the end goal is like, I need to get to this place so that I can fulfill some goal of the people who are talking to me, right?
Sure.
And so, yeah, that's kind of the loop of it all. This game is really good. I'm like totally obsessed with it right now. Yeah, I'm way into it. I think it is polished in a way that I wasn't expecting in a lot of ways. Not that like I had low expectations of this, but like there's so many nice touches in this game that really do a lot to make it feel, a really quality game.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the visual style is amazing. The like sound design in here is astounding at points. Like something as simple as, and I'm sure this isn't simple to actually do, but when you are talking to people in your car or they're talking at you more, it will sound like they're coming over your radio, like just the quality of the audio sounds like it is on a radio. And the moment you step outside, it starts, feeding audio through this like headset that you put on in the beginning of the game. And so the audio quality changes really dramatically.
Sure.
And just like the transition between those two things is so smooth and so nice. It does a lot to sort of like set you in that place. All the voice actors are doing a great job here. Like the characters, there's really only 3 of them are doing phenomenal work, and they're all very believable and like fun to hang out with and hear like what their deal is. The music, so good. Oh my God. I think the moments where I notice it the most in the garage, because it is sparse in a way similar to like Breath of the Wild, where like there will be minutes where there is nothing being played as far as like music goes. And then like out of nowhere, like, just a little riff or a little run will happen that just kind of like lingers there for a little while and does so much to set the tone. I think in Breath of the Wild, you usually get like a piano or something, but in this game, it's much closer to like the stuff that you got in The Last of Us, where it's kind of this like moody guitar music going on in the background. It goes so far to set the tone of the place, because I think this game is not just going for like horror or a terrifying place. There is a lot of hope in the story that it's telling, and just the actions that you can do. A lot of it is like upward momentum, right? Like you're constantly fixing things and making your garage better and getting farther than people have before in a long time.
Yeah.
And so it's not just this like terrifying slog against all odds.
Yeah.
And so I think like the music does a lot to support that in a way that isn't just like a cool track that they play behind you.
Sure.
And then the other place that I notice the music the most is whenever you open a gate. It is just so tense, because like they're essentially, the way that the game shows you where the gate is you have a map in your car that you can look at, and you see where you need to go. But then if you look outside of the car, like just with turn your body to look outside the car, there is a gigantic orange beam of light that
not
you
a
can
purple
see
beam of light.
This is not Light the Beam. Thank you, Sacramento. Just an orange beam.
I'll accept it.
And your job is to like drive through it. And
cool. And
so yeah, just the tension in the soundtrack there is so intense, especially when things are falling apart. The first couple times I did this, it was just like by the skin of my teeth, just barely making it back.
Yeah.
I think I play a lot more conservatively at this point where like I don't want to get into the situation where it's that close anymore.
Yeah.
But it just does it so well. And again, just like even down to how it feels to sit in the car and just like idle for a while, because there's not, fucked up shit happening everywhere. There are definitely parts where it's pretty pristine, and just like sitting and hanging out in this like car of yours is really nice. Like you can hear the hum of the engine or the radio you can turn on and like listen to some actual music.
That nice vintage internal combustion engine.
Exactly. Yeah. Just spitting out gasoline. So yeah, I love it a lot. I think it's really, really good. Like I said, don't always find what I'm looking for in survival games. I think that they can be very mechanically dense and mostly mechanically focused a lot of the time. And like there is, I will say the first like 20, 30 minutes, I kind of had to like really think about like, what is this game asking me to do? How do I understand these mechanics? And like, how do I figure it out? After that, it was very smooth sailing, but I found that onboarding a lot easier than I did in a lot of other survival games. And so I can really appreciate everything that they've done here to make this game engaging story-wise and mechanically, and just to like build tension and then relief, and whether or not that relief is in just a safe haven that you can go hang out in, or the kind of humor that's in here, or any of the characters that you meet up with. So cool. It's really good. Pacific Drive, it's good. Video games.
Sounds great.
The other game that I want to bring up right now is this game called Balatro or Balatro.
Oh, I've heard of this one. What is this?
This, my friend, is a deck building roguelike.
You don't say.
Yes, it is.
Back at it.
This is both one of the more traditional and non-traditional deck building roguelikes I've ever played.
Okay.
More traditional because it is just poker at its core.
Oh, cool.
Less traditional because, God, there's a lot of wild shit that happens in this. So this is a game made by Local Funk is the name of the developer. And this game is poker. No, it like the essentially how it works is that you will be dealt a hand. A hand is like, so many cards. It's, 6 or 7 or 8. It varies depending on like what setup you have, but you have a hand of cards and your job is to make poker hands, essentially, right? So if you've never played poker, I promise you that is the only part of this game that is very poker-like. Almost everything else is totally off the wall, but the only thing that feels like, hey, yeah, I've played poker before is the part where you have to make hands, right? And none of those are very complicated if you've never played poker. It's like 2 of a kind or 3 of a kind, or a flush, meaning all the same suit of cards, or a straight, meaning 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or full house, meaning 2 pair and 3 pair, or anything like that. And it usually it like lists what a lot of those are. Like if you have it and you select those cards, it'll say on the left, like, hey, that's a straight. So before you play it even. So it's usually pretty easy to identify, do I actually have that or not? And then once you play that, it will score your the number of points that you have, and then you have a multiplier that it will multiply that score by, and you're just on any level, you're just trying to get above a certain threshold. So like 300 points is an early first level. Okay. So all that's true. You have 3 or 4 hands that you can play. So it's like you have a certain number of discard and a certain number of hands. So it's like, all right, I have a really shitty starting hand. I'm going to discard 4 of them. I'm going to pull 4 more. Yeah. Oh, cool, I've got something good. I'm going to play, 2 pair. That's one of my plays. And then I have 3 more of those that I can do. And so it's just kind of this process of pulling cards, looking to see if you have anything, discarding or playing, and then, repeat, yada, yada, yada. After every level, you go into a shop, and in the shop, there are a number of things, but usually the most important, or at least for my money, is these things called jokers, which are essentially just passive buffs on any hand that you play. Okay. So it's like, all the even numbers now get scored with 20 extra points. Whoa. Or your multiplier will get multiplied by 1.1 for every time you've discarded, or something like that. That's not exactly it, but any of those, they cost money, and you get money just from like beating a level, or a number of different ways. But yeah, so that's sort of the way the game's set up. You beat a level, and then you go back to the shop, you check out what they got in there. You might also be able to pull new cards, right? So there's no limit on like this having to be 52 cards. You can remove them or delete them or add new ones that like you could technically have like 10 aces in there if you needed to. Whoa. You can also change any of the cards so that they're scored differently, or they give you a little bit more of a boost if you're just like holding on to it while you play something else. And yeah, there's about 100 mechanics I could list out about how that goes. But point being, there are a bunch of ways to modify the score that you get once you play a hand, right? You can even get these celestial cards, which will upgrade how much any of those hands are worth. And so it's like, like, okay, I'm going to upgrade my 2-pair to be level 2 now so that it'll just straight up give me more points across the board. And I have a card that gives me more points for 2 pairs. So like I'm gonna hold on to that one. Anyway, this game is amazing and so good, and it just burns through hours of my time.
Sounds
David.
like it really is a time suck.
Oh my god,
sounds like a time suck.
Yeah, it is. I think it's like with every other or most other deck building roguelikes, I think since Slay the Spire, they have been in a certain mold, right? I think a lot of the time it is some bad dudes or some good dudes standing on the left that are fighting bad dudes on the right, right? Like that is a lot of deck building roguelikes, and the departure mechanically that you see from those games is oftentimes in how the cards work, or maybe they'll layer on other mechanics, but like that's pretty close to a lot of what those games are. Yeah. There are exceptions to that for sure. I think like Weirdly Dicey Dungeons is one of the more strange versions of that, where it really takes away some of the stuff that is standard for that, but you're still fighting someone, right? You're still trying to do enough damage to continue. Yeah. And I feel like Balatro is one of the first deck building roguelikes that has internalized what made Slay the Spire good, thought about it, and they're like, okay, I'm going to apply that to a very different game. Yeah. Because I this may exist, but I haven't played a deck building roguelike where you're just trying to get a certain score by the end of it. You know, most of it is combat, or most of it is trying to, you know, beat the other people on the other side of the screen. Sure. Not just like get 300 points.
The win condition is destroy in other games.
Yeah, most of the time, which is like, again, I have played so many of those games and I like a lot of them, but even the best ones in the genre, for me, probably like Slay the Spire, Monster Train, you know, Grifflands, I liked a lot. I know some people have problems with that one, but I like it quite a bit.
Did we just get your deck building roguelike power rankings there right now?
I think you might have.
Wow.
I think that's
and that's just a throwaway bit.
Dang. I think it's pretty clear for me which ones are the very good ones.
You talk about those ones the most. It's true.
Yeah, I think so. At least for me. I think the only other thing, and weirdly that you brought it up recently, is Inscription, that really took what deck building roguelikes can be and sort of like flipped it. Yeah. Because it is in there, but even still, the deck building roguelike in there is combat, right? It's still fighting.
Sure is, yeah.
So and let me also give out one more shout out to Luck Be a Landlord, which is also a sort of deck building roguelike, but in a similar vein, but yeah, very different than the rest of the games there. But even still, I feel like Balatro is doing something different in a way that I like really love. It feels very novel. Feels like I haven't really played something like this before, despite being able to see the individual components, right? Like I see where it's pulling from and I see what it's doing, but like haven't played a game like this. It's good as hell. It's really fucking good.
Nice.
So yeah, I feel like with Persona or even Pacific Drive, I have a lot of things to say about each of the parts. Balatro, I really can just synthesize and say like, it's really good and I play it a lot.
They did a good poker.
They did a really good deck building poker. Cause like I can't just sit here and list mechanics at you and tell you why they're all good.
I mean, you could.
I could, but that doesn't feel very fun or good at all.
Yeah.
I think just like the takeaway here is like, damn, that's a really fucking good poker game. And like I said, I think the most important part, at least for me, is someone found a way to twist what makes a deck building roguelike good. And also questioned like, what is necessary about this genre? Is it the combat? Because if not, then maybe let's try this. And they did. And wow, it's also very good.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a very fun spin on it, where you're just trying to get to a score instead of demolish an opponent, an enemy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And even what was that game last year? Like it's Astria, the six-sided oracle. Like that is a game that is narratively, you are trying to heal your opponent by like removing the blight from them. And so like narratively it's a little bit different, but even still you're trying to reduce the number of health that they have to zero, right? Like, and so it's even still, it feels a little bit different. And so to remove that and say like, what is the essence of what makes this genre fun? And I think that they like may have carved an answer in here that says like, it's not necessarily the punching people that is the fun part. Yeah. It is the drafting cards and trying to build combos and synthesis.
Combos and synergy.
Together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the fun part of this genre. And you don't have to be fighting dudes to do that. You can also do poker or slot machines in the case of Luck Be a Landlord, or a big spooky meta narrative like Inscription.
Yeah.
Or so anyway, I am playing this as much as I can, just constantly.
Nice. Love it.
I thought it was going to be a good before game, but I was exceptionally wrong about that because I just kept staying awake to continue playing the video game.
It's too powerful. You can't stop.
It's way too engaging.
Yeah.
I think the reason that Slay the Spire eventually became a good before bed game for me was because like there weren't that many decisions at a certain point. Like I had played it enough that I know kind of the direction I should go, or like, here's a little swerve that I might do, but like, I understand the game. I played it so much. This one, like, I don't really yet. And so there's a lot of experimentation and stepping back and thinking like, is this going to work? Is this synergy going to work the way that I expect it to? Should I do pick up this one joker that will delete the rest of my jokers, but like is very good actually? Like, is that worth it? And then, it does the very fun thing of that a lot of these games do, where if you beat it once, you can do it with a harder difficulty, or you can play it with a different deck that has like, this one has one more discard than you normally do, or this one starts with like this only face cards or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so there are a lot of ways to check out what is going on, or experiment with the game in a way that keeps it fun. I have a flight coming up in April, and I was kind of worried about the 10-hour flight time, but not anymore because I can definitely play Balatro for 10 straight hours if I need to.
We're good. We're fine. It's going to be
great. I'm totally fine. Yes.
No qualm.
No. It's great. I find the run times also very like good. I feel like whenever I win, it doesn't take more than like an hour or so.
Sure.
And a lot of the times if I'm playing, like the game is very comfortable with kicking your ass immediately.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a good synergy or like just something running by like, the fourth or fifth level, like they'll be like, oh, hey, didn't do it. Sucks.
Yeah.
That didn't work at all, which is fun. Like I like that it doesn't pull its punch and let you get farther than you should with like a bad strategy. Mm-hmm. It's just like, no, you really do need to be doing well here. It's good.
Nice.
It's really fucking good.
Sounds great. I'm interested. That sounds fun.
Yeah, if you have any interest in a deck building roguelike, or if you kind of like poker, then this is a very good one. I will say for anybody who's worried about the poker part, it's fine. You don't need to know very much. Mm-hmm.
It's a straightforward game.
It's a straightforward game, and this game goes a long way to make it a little bit easier than it even is normally. Yeah. You have a much bigger hand than you normally do in poker. You can discard a lot more times. And even still, it's really just like that for the first round, and then it's immediately Calvin Ball. Okay, I just turned my entire deck into clubs. Can I build a deck around this? Mm-hmm, or I don't have any twos anymore. Is that going to be a problem? Yeah. It's great. And I will also say, God, it is good on Switch. It's just the perfect Switch game.
Sounds nice.
I don't want to play this on a PlayStation 5. It's like not the format I would love to play.
You need this very close to your face.
You need it close to my face. It also makes use of the touchscreen on Switch, which I oftentimes forget is even a thing.
Like a real poker game.
Like a real poker game. You just fucking move the cards around, and it's like very playable in that form. Oh, yeah. So big ups.
Big up.
Weird part of the year, but just banger after banger, I gotta say.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, David, this will bring me to my Podtimistic thing of the week.
Which is?
It's not the documentary about Hideo Kojima.
Really?
Yeah, no, not that.
Dang.
It is real life places in video games.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, I love that. I love it.
It's really fun. Pacific Drive does this. Mm-hmm. Not like directly. You're not wandering around Seattle.
Yeah.
But they sure do nail what it looks like in a forest in the Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely.
And just like the mist or the fog and like all that sort of stuff. It's really, really gorgeous. So that's always really cool. Recently in Yakuza with Hawaii. And then I'm also very interested to go to the place in Japan that like most of the other Yakuza games are based in. Because I hear that it's very like one-to-one in a lot of ways.
Cool. Hell yeah.
Love all the areas in Persona that are like based on real places and shit like that. Mm-hmm. To a little bit lesser of an extent, GTA.
Yeah.
Because it is like, they do model a lot of those places off real life places, but then also like the point of those is to cause mayhem. And so I'm always like, oh, I've been there. Let me throw a grenade in the front.
Yeah, let me kill pedestrians.
Yeah.
On Rodeo Drive, right? Yeah.
It's not like if they made a GTA Sacramento, I don't know that I would want to like go cause a commotion.
Causing a ruckus on J Street. I'm going to Faces, baby.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that at all. So Yeah, that's the thing that's got me this week.
I do love that. Yeah.
It is very good. It's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have something fueling your sense of Podtimism?
Yeah, for me, it is the Hideo Kojima documentary.
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima, Connecting Worlds on Disney Plus, strangely enough. I didn't realize this was a thing. And then my girlfriend's friend was visiting over the weekend, and we were having a conversation of who would you be starstruck meeting in real life? And I'm like, Hideo Kojima. If I met him in real life, I'd be starstruck. And then we're looking for movies to watch, and there's like a documentary about him. It's like the new thing released on there. And it was meant to be. I haven't watched it yet, but it's definitely on my list for things to do this coming week because I'm just curious to see what kind of information did Michael Mouse get out of Hideo for this documentary.
I'm very interested in it because like I love the work that Hideo has put out over the years, and the team that he has worked with. Mm-hmm. It seems like Hideo is a pretty big fan of Hideo Kojima, and so like it could very easily be extremely navel-gazy and like. Self-congratulatory, and so I am interested to see like, is that the vibe, or is this like an honest look at what this dude's scope and the thrust of his work has been over the years?
I'm interested too. I'm wondering how much is going to be about movies, because the man loves his movies.
Yeah, he does.
So yeah, they could go a lot of different directions, which is why I'm just so curious to see. But I just love that it's a video game auteur is getting a documentary, one of the biggest media companies in the world.
Yeah, that's wild.
Which is pretty cool.
It is cool. Good for video games.
Good for video games. Good for Hideo. Good for us.
Good for us. The gamers.
Gamers are eating.
Oh, God. Hey, do you want to move on to our main thing, dude?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Welcome to Good Games. It's a segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gosh, all the things that we love about them. Guess what?
What?
It's RC car time, baby.
It's vroom, RC car time. Here we go.
I actually don't know if vroom vroom is the correct onomatopoeia for these kind of cars. Zing zing.
Zing zing.
We got a listener suggestion to play the game Revolt for the N64 and PlayStation and all that stuff. This one came suggested to us by listener Abbie. Thank you, Abbie.
Thanks, Abbie.
They suggested Revolt, and let me see, on the topic they said, I always loved RC car racing games, and this one's the cream of the crop.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
I have never played any RC racing games, so I was very curious to try this one.
I'm exceptionally uninformed about RC racing car games.
I did have a lot of remote control cars as a kid, but I never raced them. That is for sure.
I did not either. I don't think they really left my block where I played with them.
Yes, I did not have the professionally tuned RC racing cars. I had the ones that were like, if you flip it, it just keeps going, sort of RC cars.
Yes. Yeah. This isn't the same thing, but when I was a kid, I bought, or in high school, I bought the big wheel called the Green Machine. Do you remember this?
I remember the Green Machine. Yeah.
It's it has one big wheel in the front, and in the back, whenever you turn, it doesn't turn the wheels, it turns the axle. And so you're just constantly drifting around every corner. Just impossible not to flip or break.
It was a tuk-tuk, essentially.
It was a tuk-tuk. And so if you're low enough in the seat, you can drift, but at the same time, those wheels are not strapped on very hard. Very regularly, just the wheels would actually come off.
I love how they're just teaching kids how to drift.
Yeah, you gotta lock up the wheels and turn into it. Very far off topic. Can I hit you with some hot stats about Revolt, David?
Please. Some sparky stats.
Some sparky stats.
Revolt came out August 18th of 1999 for N64, PS1, and Windows, and then later that year for Dreamcast.
The
Dreamcast. This feels like a Dreamcast game to me.
I see that. Yeah.
There's the sort of very blue skies, the music, I will be dropping some music from this one later.
It's very of the times.
Extremely 1999.
Real Y2K music.
This was made by Acclaim Studios London. Previously was Probe Entertainment. They made the Alien Trilogy video game. I don't know if you remember that one. You've probably seen the cover. It's just the Xenomorph and it's an Alien Trilogy on it.
Yeah.
Saw it at Blockbuster all the time.
Nice.
They made Extreme G2 Racing.
Not G3, but G2.
Not G3. Oh. I didn't realize that the 2 and 3 were referred to
I didn't know either. Numbers in the trilogy. Yeah.
In the series. I thought it was like 3 G-forces is what it was
That's
saying
what I
there.
always assume too, but that's fun.
Yeah. They also made Armorines Project Swarm.
Ooh.
And of course, Jelly Boy. For the
Jelly Boy?
For Jelly Boy for the Super Nintendo.
Whoa. I love the name.
Me too. I have a review from our friends at Joe Video, David.
Ooh, they're back.
Of Revolt. I've taken Joe Video's review, ran it through Google Translate a bunch of times, one language into another, to mangle it up and fuck it up real good, which I will read for you now.
Let's hear it.
Listen, all well-made levels, fun areas, and fast-paced gameplay, Revolt still has some funs. Firstly, some people don't trust power-ups very much, but like I said, I have a huge impact on the game. Furthermore, the balance sheet, although good, is not attractive and attractive. It's impossible to relax while playing, and you only have 3 attempts to complete the game, so restarting has caused harm to my marriage. And then it said 8. They gave that an 8.5 out of 10.
Caused harm to his marriage?
I know. What is
happened?
going on, Joe? What happened? Where did Revolt go wrong?
Oh, just made you so angry that you couldn't hit the turn quick enough that you just your wife got mad at you? Was she
My
disappointed that you
collapsed.
weren't doing well enough? Was she disappointed in your reaction to not doing well enough? What's going on?
Seems like a skill issue to me.
Ooh. Man.
Sorry, bro. Gotta hit those turns a little harder.
Gotta get the fun areas.
David, what is Revolt?
Revolt is a arcade RC car racing game, I should say, where you control a RC car, a remote controlled car, battling against other RC cars in different environments, such as the neighborhood, the supermarket, the toy store, all sorts of different cool places to race your car against other people and enthusiasts such as yourself. So there is a battle element to the game as well. So you can get power-ups and shoot rockets at people, leave oil slicks, stuff like that. And then there is a little bit of verticality in the game. There's some jumps. There's some, but the levels are fun. They kind of collapse on themselves in a way, which is interesting.
The first one definitely has the thing that I loved in that Hot Wheels game that we played, where you double back essentially.
You can go against the flow of traffic.
Yes, exactly. I love that in these racing games because like I feel like a lot of the times the power-ups that I get, and I'm mostly thinking of Mario Kart, like there are power-ups that are really only good when you are like farther back, right? If you're in first or something, it's like, it's not going to help you. Or there's just situations where it's like, why would I use this? But anytime that there is oncoming traffic, just let loose with whatever you got. And there's just chaos immediately. It's very fun.
It is good.
Yeah.
Did you play
That's
the new,
the game.
did you play the new Mario Kart levels on Mario Kart 8? Because some of the Mario Kart Tour levels do that same thing where you go against traffic.
Yeah. Especially the ones where it's like it changes the map from lap to lap.
Yeah.
And so like you're like sometimes colliding with other people and shit like that. It's very fun.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
That's good.
Yeah. So this game, Revolt, what do you think of this one?
I enjoyed Revolt. I always love miniaturization.
Very good. Yeah.
I love small things going around in the real world and experiencing normal size things as a small thing.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
The perspective shift. Yeah.
Yes, the perspective shift. So especially the neighborhood level, I really enjoyed. The supermarket level was great too. The toy store levels were really fun. Just great kind of a sense of speed as well around these areas, and a unique way of controlling these cars, because it did remind me of driving an RC car at some point. An
actual RC car.
Because if you turn too much, then you just start turning around, and then you have to like stall. You don't stall out, but you have to stop, turn around a little bit, go in reverse, and then get back onto the path that you want to go. And then also just how you interact with jumps and curbs and things like that definitely made you feel like, yes, this is a toy car that is kind of light, that a small disturbance will kind of throw you off trajectory in a substantial way. So I did enjoy that as well. There was a surprising amount of physics in this game, which I was not expecting, and physics that had a substantial impact on the gameplay as well, especially if you were getting into like close, tight areas, and how you interacted with other cars, because at that point you definitely really wanted like to have a heavy car and just like blast through folks. And if you weren't, you really had to kind of play carefully, which was interesting decisions he had to make in this game.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the racing games from this era, they offered you different stats, but I rarely feel the the impacts of those stats.
Especially weight. Weight was almost always a stat.
Yes.
And I feel like in this one, I respected weight the most.
Yes, I do too. You really feel the difference of what like a heavy car versus a lighter car feels like. And especially the difference in speed too. Like you can feel the drawbacks of like, well, I am much squirrelier and I spin out really easy.
Yeah.
But I can get going so much faster than the other cars.
Yeah.
And so you really do have to like weigh the balance there of like, how do I want to play this? I also drifted towards the heavier cars because I think they're probably easier for somebody who isn't super good at this game.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know the levels, and sometimes I'm kind of like turning around corners where I'm like, oh God, what do I need to be doing here? God, one of the most helpful things in this game that I sometimes wish any racing game had the option to turn on was just a little arrow that's constantly
the arrow is great.
And like, what way do I need to be going?
Yeah, just generally the right direction.
Yes, yeah. Because like it's hard to do, and especially at the time, it's hard to do like good enough level design, like as good as Mario Kart, right?
Yeah.
And even Mario Kart 64, sometimes like I remember when I first played it, like there are some levels where I'm like, where do I need to be going right now? I've memorized them at this point, so it's much easier to know like where to go. And the new ones are usually exceptionally clear what direction and where you need to be going.
Yeah.
But for games on the N64, sometimes I'll play these and just be like, God, I don't even know if like this is the right way, or
I don't even
like,
know what direction I'm facing right now sometimes.
Yes. And the arrow in this game, like, sort of preempted whatever turn you were going to like need to start making soon. And so it's not like it just suddenly turned on a dime and it's like, oh, you should have taken a left back there. It will kind of start to like drift towards like you will soon need to be going left. And so it really made it easier to learn the levels rather than just like trial and error of like, I'm just going to bash my head against the wall over and over again, getting last place until I know this level.
Exactly, right.
I also love that they modeled how squirrely these cars are for the AI too. They were very regularly spinning out and fucking up.
Yeah. It was equal opportunity physics, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Especially in that in the second level, the one in the like the supermarket or whatever.
The supermarket.
There's like a freezer section and like it is just mayhem in there. Nobody's turning right. There's so many like items being used in there that make it just a disaster.
It was the fuck zone.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the fucky zone.
The fucky zone.
That was the Olympic exclusion zone of Revolt.
There was some real weird shit going on in there.
I like that the power-ups in this game, a lot of them kind of slotted into, some of them were very standard stuff, right? Like you have a boost, which is a battery.
Yeah.
Or you have like a bottle rocket, which operates like some kind of projectile.
Missile. Yeah.
Missile. Then you got the ball. There's like a big ball that you just drop behind yourself. The sound of it coming out is so funny. It sounds like a bowling ball hitting like a solid foundation.
Yeah.
So funny.
What did that thing even do? I had no idea what it did.
No idea. I have no idea. I never hit anybody with it.
Yeah, I never took the time to like look behind me and see what was going on.
No, yeah, because like I am so focused on just not spinning out in this game.
Yeah, I cannot
happening
look behind
behind
me. It's gonna throw me off.
Yeah, because I feel like I would race so much better if I just focused on racing rather than like Mario Kart. There are a lot of times where you're just hitting A and going straight.
Yep.
It can be very not boring, but like there's not a lot going on. Whereas like it felt like pandemonium in this game all the time to me.
You really had to be on it with the turns because you turn so quickly. You really have to turn fast and suddenly. Otherwise you turn too early or you don't make the turn at all, right? So you really have to be like accelerating into a dead end and then just all of a sudden to the right.
Yes. Or heaven forbid you like go off a jump kind of sideways. Totally fucked.
Yeah. Go off a jump kind of sideways or just like get one wheel half off of the ramp.
Flipped.
And then you're just corkscrewing through the air. It's like, well, this is it. This is it for me.
It's like almost Formula One in the way that the cars control where like you can get going so quickly and you have to be so precise in the turns that you make.
Super precise. Yeah.
Because like in a lot of other racing or at least like the other racing games, like the games want you to slow down and the slowing down often takes a long time.
Yeah.
Like in Forza, like you oftentimes have to hit the brake for a long time. Whereas Revolt and like in Formula One games and shit, it's like No, we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
You can hit brake, but it only needs to really happen for about a half a second. And then you need to like whip around this corner.
Yep. Yeah. Brake is there for very specific short instances.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a utility, not a requirement.
Absolutely. Did you play this on the simulation mode?
Oh my God, no. I played it on console mode and then also tried it on like the junior Wheelie Pop Junior, whatever the fucking lowest baby mode is.
I tried it on simulation mode once. It was crazy.
How'd that go? Yeah.
It was insane. It didn't seem like too much crazier than just the regular mode, but man, you just spun out so fast. You just spin out so fast.
I was already doing that, so I have to imagine that like actual simulation is incredibly difficult. Speaking about stuff that we like, I was like researching a little bit about this game, and of all the games that we've played, this is the first one that I have encountered where there is a active community around this video game. Still.
Whoa. Okay.
People really still play Revolt.
I mean, I can see why. It seems like an easy-ish to pick up, but you can definitely master this.
The skill ceiling seems quite high in this game. I saw a YouTube video earlier for, I think it was the Revolt World Championships. It was like a preview for like what was in it or something like that, which is really great. I joined the Revolt Discord last night to just see like what's going on. People still playing Revolt, still hanging out in there. I think part of it is that it launched on PC at some point, and that I don't know this for sure, but from what I was reading, it seemed like it was not easy to mod, but something that like people could kind of get around and like fuck around in the game. And so like that definitely has the makings of something where it would be picked up by a lot of people. It's the same reason that like Melee is still played so much. It's because like the skill ceiling of those games is just so fucking high that like people still haven't quote unquote like mastered the video game, you know? Which is really cool. Of all the games, this was not the one I was expecting, but like people are still really, really playing Revolt.
That's cool.
It's nuts.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that because this is an old game.
Yeah, 1999. Still motherfuckers playing Revolt.
Are there any like current RC car games that people are passionate about? Like this one?
I don't know. I tried looking for just like what are some other RC car games, and like there seemed to be some, but I had a hard time finding like what's the one, you know? Yeah, a lot of them are like referencing other older video games. I'm looking at fatherly.com. What is this website?
It's telling you what time it is, Chase.
It's fatherly.com.
Fatherly like, fast. It's fatherly.com.
It's finally father. Finally, it's father. So man. Smash Cars, VRC Pro, RC Revenge, Motorstorm RC, Revolt does get a shout out. Which is cool.
Oh yeah. Love to see it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's like, you know, the I don't know what the Forza Motorsport or the Gran Turismo or the like Assetto Corsa of this game genre would be. I don't know if it's quite as like settled as that.
That's cool.
I'm sure someone will email us being like, sorry dude, it's this one video game that we all agree is the shit.
It's coming. The email is coming.
Somebody's probably mentioning it, but you know, when you're wrong, you're wrong. So we got to be corrected. But it's such an interesting subgenre. I would not expect this to be something that people were like so passionate about, but like there's a lot of people who like this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, is there like a big RC car community just like in like real life RC cars?
There has to be. I am totally unaware of that, but like I feel like that is absolutely a thing that people will do. I know that there's a big RC mini game in Yakuza.
Oh, there you go.
Not in the most recent one, but in some of the older ones. That's a thing that people do. Kiryu goes and just like beats the shit out of children and
oh my God.
In RC races.
Needed more context quicker for that one, Chase.
Yeah. Didn't in the spoken word, you can't say that there wasn't a period at the end of that sentence. Yeah. Oh, here's my perfect opportunity. I gotta put in some of these fucking tracks in this game, man.
Oh, yeah, the music. It took me to another dimension.
Yeah, you had mentioned it feels very Matrix coded, which I agree with. There's just like that like pounding late 90s version of like techno where it is just going as fast as it possibly can.
Yes.
And there's like the one synth sound, like that whole thing. Just like there's a phaser going in and out of the same sort of instrument over and over.
Yeah.
It's great. I really, really like the music in this game.
No, yeah, the music really, I think, added to the intensity of the racing, honestly, in a very pleasant way. Added intensity to it.
Yeah, it was weirdly like thematically aligned with the game.
Yeah.
Of how driving and intense the music itself was.
And it's like electronic. These are electronic cars. It follows.
Sure.
It follows.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's fucking good. It's a fun game.
It's fucking good.
I was telling you before that this feels like just the platonic ideal of an N64 game. If someone were to conceptualize what N64 was, not that this one game is like better than any of the other ones. It just feels like I experienced putting in the cartridge and playing this game without ever having done that when I played it yesterday. Like it was just like, yeah, this is so core N64 video gaming right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. It definitely feels, for some reason, it feels like a cartridge game in a way.
Yes. Yeah.
Like it should be something physically I can touch and put into something to play with and interact with. It's hard to put that into words, but
I know it's like it's a vibe. It's ethereal. I don't know what it is.
I think it's that it is just a video game. You know, it's just this is the game. We made something pretty fun here. Go and have fun with it and find the fun is what it feels like. It doesn't like really lay it on a platter for you. It's just like, here you go. Here's the cars. Here's the levels, and go and do your thing. It's very laissez-faire about its introduction of the player to the game, if that makes sense.
This is free market gaming.
This is free market
now,
gaming, baby. Welcome to Revolt. There you go. Laissez-faire. Hands off.
Yeah. Leave me alone. Let me game. Jean-Baptiste Colbert coming in here like, dude, let me play fucking video games.
Let me play these RC cars.
I just want to play with my RC car. The French government, the French business community. Leave me alone.
Back off, Mom.
Back off, Miss Colbert. I'm trying to game.
Back off, Mom Spierre.
That's pretty good.
Thanks. Thank you.
That's a good joke. They really fucked us over in inventing laissez-faire capitalism, huh?
Yeah.
Dude did a real big oopsie.
I mean, yeah.
I guess he couldn't have known the impact, but like, damn, we still be out here with these fucking RC car ass economics.
RC car-onomics?
I wish Revolt was real life and I could just live in the Revolt world instead. You know, Revolt is in referencing to like the ampage, the electric output of the RC car, but we've been circling around laissez-faire economics.
Somehow, some way.
Jean-Baptiste Colbert, and the game is named Revolt. Like what are we getting at here?
Are we telling our listeners to revolt against the government? Is that what you're getting at?
I think we may be trying to ask for collective action in improving the material conditions of the working class.
All right, I'm into it.
What I'm saying is that I think that revolt is the way that we implement political change. The RC car specifically, not like revolution, like RC cars. We
have to start
somewhere, and this is as good a place as any.
We're just gonna do like a relay of RC cars across the country, of just sending information to other like-minded people. That's how we get around the social media spy system.
Social media spy system, yeah.
Dude. You know Biden's in my DMs.
Yeah, it's true. David, what is fucking Instagram? That's what he would ask you. Yeah, we send RC cars from one city to the next to be like, dude, doesn't like working kind of suck right now? Don't you feel like a little bit underpaid and like the value?
Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, send it back on your own RC car and then we'll figure out what to do about it.
Can't track an RC car.
Maybe that's what Nikki Haley needs to do to like start actually getting some traction in the Republican primaries. Just start sending out messages via RC car.
You've heard of grassroots politics.
Now, get ready for RC politics.
Get ready for RC
it's like the like old weird stories of like Lincoln and people of that era, like just wandering through a town, like talking to people on their front porch. It's like that, but there's like an iPad strapped to an RC car.
It's like those old like cars in the 50s that they had that just had a bunch of bullhorns, and there's just like someone shouting, and it's just an RC car instead, just going down slowly down a cul-de-sac around.
I'm running for comptroller. You should vote for me. I have very little control.
That just sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks through the bullhorn because it's so small.
Yeah, exactly. Revolt is the way to political change, and specifically RC cars.
There you go.
Abbie, thank you for suggesting this.
Thanks, Abbie. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Yes. Sorry we got so deep into Jean-Baptiste Colbert of it all.
I had a good time.
Hello, gamers. Welcome to the outro. It's me, Chase. And I'm here to tell you a few things. One, you can go to podtimism.com if you want to get links to our email or suggest a game or see if we've already covered a game that you are interested in. It'll tell you which episode we played it in too, not just like yes or no. So you can go back and check it out. Also has a link to our Discord, which you can come hang out and talk and chat and post memes and stuff. We had a rousing discussion today about boneless wings and whether or not that constitutes an actual wing or not.
What about just the camp of no wings?
How do you mean, David?
I'm anti-wing.
Anti-wing just in general?
Yeah.
What about the boneless wings? Do you not like the...
Just give me a damn chicken tender. Just give me a chicken tender.
The tender cohort over here.
I'm trying to eat. Give me food. I'm not trying to nibble. I'm trying to bite.
The tender splinter group that you've created is complicating things here. There were a lot of topics in last week's episode that I thought we'd be able to talk about, but nugs and tenders and wings were the thing that really took hold. So
sure did.
If you want to come check that out, you can. It's a link on podtimism.com. Also, while we're on the topic of the Discord, thank you TWG for having us on the network.
Thank you.
Very cool to be here. We got a bunch of shows on the network, like Any Percent, which is a show that you can listen to via Into the Aether's Patreon if you're so interested. We'll try and talk about a topic in 10 minutes or less.
Whoa.
Like a speed run, you get it.
That's cool.
Can't Let It Go. Very good show. Shouts out Matt, who was on the Balatro train before I even knew what that video game was. He's been shouting it from the mountaintops for months, so he knew before the rest of us did. Frog of the Week. It's great. It's right there in the title. You know what it is. And of course, Into the Aether. Great show. Thank you, Scott Wilkinson, for your art for a podcast. It's so good. I love it. It's very nice. Sometimes her commissions are open if you want to check them out on ko-fi.com/humblegoat. They're not right now, but she's out there doing the Lord's work. So who knows? Maybe someday they'll be open again. But until then, you can go check out her work there, or you can support her monthly to get some behind the scenes stuff. It's cool. If you, listener, want to help out the show, there are two things you can do. One of them is review the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Got sort of barrage recently on Spotify, so thanks for whoever did that.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Or you can show it to a friend and be like, hey, do you feel the drive in your person to not be quite as distant from the fruits of your labor as you currently are? Do you feel like the excess labor that you're generating is maybe being taken advantage of?
Do you feel the drive to drive this RC car to the next like-minded individual?
And do you also like N64 games about RC cars? Well, have I got a podcast for you? It helps the show grow, and that's really the best way to do it. So for anybody who has or will do that, thank you so much. Appreciate it so greatly. And hey, now that I'm on the topic, thank you for listening. It's very cool of you. Appreciate you being here, spending your hard-earned free time with us. It's not a game podcast, but you chose to hang out here and listen to this one. So thank you for that. We do not take it for granted, and love making the show. So it's all good. It's all Gucci.
It's all Gucci.
It's all Gucci. So yeah, thank you for listening. Hey, David.
Yes.
Do you have any gaming wisdom? Sneaks up on you.
It does.
It sneaks up on me every time.
It does. Hey, if you want to make a change, you can do that. Get involved locally. That's probably the best way to start making some change in your community, and just try to make the world you want to live in.
It's true. Local politics can shape a lot of how you actually experience your life.
Yep.
And a lot of people ain't voting in local elections, so you can definitely have an effect if you need to.
You can make a difference. You can make a difference there.
I am the RC candidate. I have fused my body with this RC car. I am the ghost in this tiny little shell, and you should vote for me for comptroller.
Where is the RC car fused to your body?
I'm in it. I took my soul and put it in the RC car.
You are. Oh, okay.
I'm a ghost in the shell.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So do they have to make a little mini ramp for you to get up to the podium for your debate?
Yeah, I really got to watch how quickly I'm going up that thing too, because it turns from like a speech giving device into a ramp pretty quickly for me to jump off of. I thought you were going to say, did they have to build you a ramp to collect your soul to put it into the RC car?
Whoa.
Which I also like that.
Good question.
Yeah. What are the mechanics of RC car soul transmission?
I don't know.
Is my soul the same one that came out of my body and went into the Revolt RC car?
I mean, yes, I think so.
Maybe. Like if it's is it just a reproduction of my soul in the other one? Is that how the system works?
Maybe the revolt of it all is like we're redoing the voltage of your body, of your soul into this car.
Yeah. How much voltage is in a soul, you know?
The electromechanics of a soul.
I have no wheels, but I must vroom.
Are you even yourself anymore if you're inside the body of an RC car?
I feel more at home there. I think if they put me back in my actual body, I would feel odd. I wouldn't have my wheels anymore. How do I move?
You'll just be on all fours on the ground screaming because you're not moving with because your wheels aren't moving you anymore. Bipedal locomotion is the worst.
I have to go back. You got to put me back in the car. I don't feel good out here anymore. Where's my mirrors?
Yeah, how do I know what's behind me? Anything could be there.
Anyway, vote for RC All Heart coming this fall.
RC
for
Heart?
Controller. RC Heart. Remote Control Heart. Ooh, whoa. Suddenly invented
that's
a
Kojima
character.
Yeah, definitely a Kojima character.
It's me, Remote Control Heart. I only experience other people's emotions.
He's being controlled by Control Heart thousands of miles away.
Listen, we usually joke about something like Hideo names. That feels very close to a real thing.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's a good one.
All right. See you next week, gamers.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
TWG, the worst garbage. Online.